I feel like the first thing that every reviewer has to say before they talk about Captain Marvel is that they want to judge it as a film and kind of factor out the whole Brie Larson controversy. And just like everyone else, I do have my opinion on the whole Brie Larson thing, but I want to kind of keep that out of the video. I think that those of you who have probably seen my video on Asian films in Hollywood will probably know exactly how I feel. You can go check that out. I released it back in August. But here I really want to just judge Captain Marvel as a movie, because I feel like that's how you're meant to do it. And if we're judging Captain Marvel purely as a movie, it is so painfully average / kind of underwhelming and disappointing. And I feel like I had to say that first chunk first. Otherwise people would call me sexist or racist or, you know, whatever. Because really that's kind of what we're dealing with nowadays. You know, a movie with a female lead or a black lead can't just be bad because it's bad. It has to be bad because you're racist or because you're sexist. That's how it works nowadays, I guess. But yeah, Captain Marvel, like many others have said, like many men, women, black men, Asian women, Asian men have said, it's kind of a disappointing film. Let's talk about some of the good stuff first. Sam Jackson is very good. Ben Mendelsohn is outstanding. You know, just when we thought that all he could do is play like the bad guy, right? He pulls out this. From the opening shot, I kind of knew that this movie was going to be almost more of a product than an artistic piece. Because you look at the work of Taika Waititi or Ryan Coogler or even the Russo brothers, you know, there is a distinct style and a distinct approach to those films that makes them unique from other superhero films. And in a way, they almost feel like, you know, they're almost as artistic as Marvel movies get, really. Whereas with this film, it is directed by Ryan Fleck and Anna Boden, who did a film called Half Nelson, an indie film with Ryan Gosling, which a lot of people liked, but I felt that that movie was just kind of indie for the sake of being indie. Whereas this film, it just feels superhero for the sake of being superhero. There is really no clear voice. There is no clear directorial voice, as Chris Stuckman said in his review, and I couldn't agree more. It genuinely feels like a manufactured product. It looks like they, you know, just read the script and said, how do we shoot this? As opposed to looking at the script and saying, how do we shoot this? Which I think is really one of the things that separates a good director from a mediocre director. All the conversation scenes are shot in a very bland way. All the action set pieces feel like something that a second unit, any second unit, could do. There's really no unique aspect to the action sequences whatsoever. Of course, the visual effects are nice and the overall cinematography by Ben Davis is solid, but Captain Marvel marks the 4th MCU film that Ben Davis has shot, and he's done some much better work in the past. You look at the stuff he's done on Age of Ultron or Doctor Strange or Guardians, the first Guardians. You know, it's pretty impressive. Right, but you look at Captain Marvel, the overall colour palette, there are some really nice shots, but the overall look of the film is so tame and so bland. Really, I'm not even joking here. Throughout watching the film, judging it on structure, character arcs, visuals, the only thing that kept coming into my mind was literally Gordon Ramsay just shouting,
"Everything's bland. Bland. It's bland. Pasta's bland. Sir."
And if I remember correctly, it was Steven Soderbergh who said that, you know, the first couple of shots, the first 5 minutes in a film, will really easily tell you whether or not you'll like the film. And within the first 5 minutes, I could swear they jumped from so many different locations and timelines, and just, it's quite messy, you know. With Black Panther, for example, Coogler would open that film with a scene that was a scene. There was atmosphere, there was tension, there was intensity, and it was just a scene that played out. Whereas this was just cut. How do we get as much information crammed to the audience as much as possible? And for me, that just felt like very, very formulaic storytelling. And that was something that was evidenced throughout the rest of the film. Which brings me to probably one of the weaker aspects of Captain Marvel, and that is the fact that it kind of struggles to know what it actually is. Because it starts off as like a space action thriller, then it becomes like a fun like buddy cop movie, and then it becomes a mystery, and then it becomes a superhero movie. And that leads to some really massive structural issues, because there are going to be people who really enjoy the Earth stuff and want more of the Earth stuff, and there are going to be people who enjoy the space stuff and want more of the space stuff. For me, I wanted more of the space stuff because, quite frankly, you know, there is so much to explore there, but it never truly felt like they took advantage of it. In fact, I would say that the space stuff is seriously shallow. And that is evidence in the script, in the directing, and like even in the technical aspects. For example, the production design. You look at the stuff in space and it all looks so perfect. And when you compare that to something like Guardians or Thor Ragnarok, those sets feel lived in. You know, they actually look like a place that would actually exist. And whereas here, like, it just looks like a set. It looks like something that was built in a room, in a big room. And I just feel like they really did not use the potential of that whatsoever. And there's been a lot of chat about Goose, the cat. I did not care about that cat at all. In my opinion, Goose the cat is kind of the equivalent of Bob for me from Stranger Things, in that everyone's just making a big fuss about it. But quite frankly, there is no that character has no importance to the story, and it's just kind of there for memes and stuff. It was kind of annoying, really. I didn't mind Brie Larson in this film. I thought that she was alright. I've always liked her as an actress. I thought that she was very good in 21 Jump Street. She was very good in Room. And surprisingly enough, the character in this film and the film itself never makes gender an issue. Ever. In my opinion, the character of Carol Danvers never makes the fact that she's a woman into an issue whatsoever. They treat her as a character and not as a woman, which quite frankly is what you're meant to do. And I thought that her performance was fine. Do I think that Charlize Theron would have been so much better? Absolutely. Do I think that Charlize Theron could really lead the MCU into the next phase? Absolutely. Do I really think that Charlize Theron would just play so well off of actors like Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Hemsworth and Chris Evans and Scarlett Johansson? Absolutely. But we got Brie Larson, so we're going to have to work with Brie Larson. I will say that she seemed much better when she was being directed by the Russos in the end credit sequence, which we'll get to in a bit. But I thought her performance was fine. And no offense, but that end credit sequence paired with the Stan Lee tribute at the beginning with the Marvel logo, those were the two best things about this film. Most people that I've talked to, most people who I have watched on YouTube who have seen the film, have also agreed with me that the end credit scene and that opening tribute to Stan Lee were the two best things in the film. The film itself was very painfully average. The two kind of spoilery points that I want to touch on that really, really pissed me off and really grinded my gears, as I think it has done for most people, is the fact that Nick Fury lost his eye to a fucking cat scratch. The last time I felt this piss watching a film was when David Dunn got drowned in a mud puddle. You know, we all love Captain America the Winter Soldier, I would assume. And you know, they really kind of built up Nick Fury's story of how he lost his eye as something genuinely interesting. And the fact that that scene, that moment, was rooted in humor and not drama or tension or intensity really, really pissed me off. It's just a disservice to the character, and it's a disservice to Winter Soldier as well. The great work that they did building that character in the Winter Soldier. And the second thing was the fact that the Avengers is named after Captain Marvel's plane. Why? 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 The Avengers, you know, it's such an iconic title, it's such an iconic name, it's such an iconic team. And you didn't need to root everything in goddamn Captain Marvel. You know, I feel like in a way that's only just going to boost Brie Larson's ego. Again, this is subjectively speaking, this is just my opinion. You know, the fact that everything came from her. Oh, everything, look how important I am. I'm Captain Marvel, look at me. And that, again, also pissed me off, but not quite as much as the Sam Jackson, how he lost his eye. Those two things I really did not enjoy. At all. So anyway, guys, that was my review for Captain Marvel. Those were some of my detailed thoughts. You can go see the film if you haven't seen it. By the way, you don't need to see the film to lead up to Endgame. Just watch the end credit sequence online or something. Yeah, so those were my thoughts, guys. Thank you very, very much for watching. As always, thank you.